the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. The Sports Hit List presents Smoking Mirrors with Declan Krogman and the Polius Brothers, Greg and Stefan, breaking down the biggest news in sports, giving you the stories behind the story. Here for all the smoke, all the time, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome and good afternoon to the Friday edition of Smoking Mirrors. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside Greg Polius and our special guest, Carcool Launch, a.k.a. Bossman. Sir, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. You know, it's a matter of time. We push baseball to the side and, we probably address the NBA. Listen, you guys ever hear that Nelly song, right? That goes, what is it? I am number one, right? We know the NFL's number one. The NBA, we know, is not going to compete. They're not a winner. And three, nobody remembers. And we know what three is. So you guys...
That's what we're doing?
Listen, I'm calling it facts. I'm calling it facts. It is what it is.
You came in here about 5 minutes ago, and you weren't talking this hot. I mean, I didn't expect all this, all right?
Listen, Smoking Mirrors, that's what the show is called, right? Listen.
No, it is. Yeah, we usually set the pace. I don't like all this. You coming in too hot, baby. All right, just calm it down. But yo, how you guys doing? Greg, how's your week? How you feeling?
Finals week. It was busy, man. I just can't wait for it to be over.
Feel that. I don't miss that one bit. Carl, what about you?
I had my finals, a couple of weeks ago. Greg knows I'm teaching and being a student. I'm happy it's over. It's just, I got 6 weeks until I start my summer gig, and I'm just going to enjoy it. And it's playoff time, so it's a good time.
It is playoff time. My week was pretty good. I've been enjoying this weather. I don't know about y'all, but this 70s, this 80s. Whew.
Listen, I've been getting in the habit of leaving the house because, being home and you're working from home, you're at the computer nonstop. Yeah. I'm like at 12 o'clock, I'm like, I got to get up and get out the house. Like and especially it's beautiful. Go for a nice walk, grab some lunch, and then get back to it. So definitely enjoy the weather for sure.
That's good to have. Yes, same here. I've been doing a little biking, a little walking. But with that, we're going to get into it. So on Monday, we talked about the play-ins and potential for, the games. They had some picks out there. Carl's wearing his Celtics gear. But Tuesday and Wednesday were those play-ins, and this is how those matchups went. We had the Pacers defeating the Hornets, and the Hornets were out since that was the 9th and 10th seeded games. The Celtics defeating the Wizards 118-100, which I didn't see that coming. So now the Celtics are the 7th seed, and the Wizards played the Pacers yesterday, and it was a drubbing of 142-115. That was in the East. In the West, we had the Grizzlies, Greg's Grizzlies, all right, beating the Spurs 196. It just held on. And then the Lakers, which was the biggest one everyone was looking for Wednesday night. Lakers defeating the Warriors 103-100. What a game it was. Did y'all watch that?
I did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was the main event, prime time.
Definitely. Carl, I'll let you start. How was that game for you? I mean, that's the highlight for everybody. Well,
I try to be as transparent as possible, and halfway through the game, I guess I got ahead of myself, and I like to talk my talk. So I'm texting some of the, I can't stand the Lakers. I'm like, please, Lord, basketball gods, please, something, right? And, Wardell was being Wardell, and he did with his thing. But just looking at basketball-wise, he was being double-teamed early on in the first quarter. And then by the second quarter, he found his stride and started getting his groove. And then by the third, the Lakers went on their little run. And I was talking to, shout out to Mike Miller during the game. He said he knew the beginning of the fourth quarter where Steph was on the bench, he knew that was the turning point for him because he felt like Steph should have started at the beginning of the fourth because the minute Steph was on the bench, they went on a little run, and then we clearly saw what happened from there.
No, I don't think that was a turning point. I think the turning point was midway through the third quarter, and I think Golden State turned it over on like 2 straight possessions. And then Lakers got a couple fast break buckets out of it, and that changed the whole swing of the game.
Yeah,
Golden State was real sloppy with the ball in the third quarter.
One thing I noticed though, did Montrez even play? He was active. He didn't play, right?
He played in the first quarter, But I think once Vogel realized him and Drummond were clogging the paint and they couldn't get real spacing, they were done.
Yeah. But it was again, the game was great. I thought the atmosphere. Clearly, we saw the memes are trending with LeBron flopping and his eye doesn't work, and all that jazz and stuff.
The Forrest Whitaker meme.
That was hilarious. That was really funny. Listen, internet is undefeated with that one. But LeBron did his thing. He hit a clutch shot to give them the go ahead.
The logo, man.
Yeah, and then excellent defensive play by Anthony Davis to deflect the pass to Steph because he knows the minute Steph gets that, it would have been a wrap. But great defensive play.
It's a tie game.
The unsung hero in that game was Caruso. The defensive job, because you're never going to stop Steph. You can only hope to contain him. And Caruso did a real good job in the second half being pesky and trying to contain him, even with him running around screens and things like that.
Yeah, again, I thought the Lakers played a great game. The Warriors just didn't have enough. I mean, their others played a great first half. When it came down to the second half, they just had too many turnovers. I think they finished with 20 turnovers in the entire game. That's the difference. And the other thing we saw in the Hitless streets is people basically complaining about the refs. And I'm tired of the ref narrative. The refs, yes, can dictate the outcome of games in terms of, some calls, certain controversial calls. But at the end of the day, the players are the ones who are making the plays. So you make up for those 20 lost turnovers. There's your game right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, to change gears and talk about your Celtics, how was that game for you watching that? When that win?
It felt.
I'll give you a platform. I want you to talk about your boys.
Listen, it felt great, but it felt great, but then bad to look at it like Jason Tatum needs to score 50 in order for us to have a solid win. And it's unfortunate. Yes, he's young, and yes, this is his time to shine. I love that Kenny Smith saying, in the regular season you make your name, in the playoff you make your fame. So he's making his fame is great, but going into Brooklyn, you're kind of just like, really, we had to draw Brooklyn in the first round like this? And I have people kind of
listen to that. He has no faith. He has no faith.
It's not a matter of faith. I always have faith because I predict my team to win every year. But someone contacted me like, "Do I want to go to the games tonight?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to be in that kind of atmosphere for game one."
Oh, you saw.
I don't know if I want to be in that atmosphere.
SAW.
No,
you saw.
No, I don't know if I would be in that kind of atmosphere right now. But honestly speaking, I think. Brooklyn, they have better talent. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and deny it. They have arguably 3 top superstars in the Eastern Conference. Kyrie Irving coming off his 50, 40, 90. James Harden playing that point. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. We're missing one of our best players. It's going to be a very difficult series. Again, I'm going to go with my team, but I'm praying to the basketball gods. I'm just praying. I'm praying to the basketball gods.
Only on Smoke and Mirrors will you see Carl begging for his team.
I don't know what else to say. You're kind of looking at it like David versus Goliath. You're just like, damn, the Nets in the first. Again, the only thing I could probably bank on that everyone is saying, like, they only played 7.5 games together in the regular season, and does this translate to the postseason? Steve Nash has never coached in the postseason, but then you got Brad Stevens on the other side. Could he outcoach him? I don't know. So those are the only things that you can look at. Is Steve Nash has never coached in the playoffs before. These guys have never played together in the playoffs. Could that be a strengthening possibility? And the Celtics have been there before. 3 out of the last 4 years, they've been in the conference, Eastern Conference Finals. That's a positive for me, at least, going in there.
Grasping at straws.
Real quick,
a little positive.
Yeah, I mean, after watching more Celtics games this season than I have, mostly because of fantasy basketball, I can say that I can see Brad Stevens getting out-coached in this series from the jump. I don't care that Steve Nash never coached in the playoffs.
Well, you know what? Brad's coaching has been inconsistent. The Celtics all season, one of our Celtics fans says it, has been the Celtics are consistently inconsistent. You don't know which Celtics
sounds
team.
familiar.
That's not me. No, stop it. Don't do that. Don't do that. But one thing I did like, though, Kemba Walker did play great. Kemba Walker, we need Kemba Walker. Cardiac Kemba is what we need. If we're going to have a fighter's chance at all, we're going to need Cardiac Kemba to do what he did. We're going to need Jason Tatum. We're going to need the others to step up. Robert Williams, Evan Fournier. Everyone just needs collectively. It can't just be give the ball to Jason Tatum and watch him go crazy. Everyone has to collectively come together in order for us to at least win 1 or 2 games, or even have a chance at even winning the series.
So with that, I do want to know your playoff predictions. All right, because we have the Warriors playing tonight against the Grizzlies. Greg, actually, I want to get that from you real quick. What are you thinking? Your Grizzlies going up against Steph with a do or die matchup. How you feeling with that?
So I see Steph dropping a 50 ball on us. I don't think Steph is going to let the Warriors lose. The only way we have a fighting chance is if Ja Morant plays consistent basketball on both ends of the floor. You know, we got a 20-20 from JV, and we had Dylan Brooks with 24 last game. Our bench did nothing. So in order to beat the Warriors, or Steph and the Warriors, because that's what it is at this point, we're going to need more contributions from Desmond Bane and DeAnthony Melton and Ja Morant to beat Ja Morant in his rookie season. 19-6 isn't going to cut it.
Do you think there's a win potentially in the future?
I would like one, but I don't see it happening, to be honest.
So you're not like Carl. I mean, Carl to me, like, he's praying and hoping, but you seem like you gave up already.
No, I didn't give up. I mean, Steph is on another level right now.
Wardell's gonna Wardell.
Yeah, he didn't play a great second half, and he still had almost 40.
But you know what? Shout out to one person we didn't talk about shout out to Draymond Green. I think he's defended. He's the only player to defend Anthony Davis in the most games ever, I believe, in NBA history.
He did a hell of a job against him, too.
He did. So I think Draymond was unsung, I guess, hero in the loss, if that makes any sense, because he did his part. He did his job. He basically contained Anthony Davis throughout the entire game, up until maybe later on.
He did a decent job defending LeBron as well during that game. I know when they switched off before that, LeBron hit that three, and you had Steph guarding LeBron. But yeah, I think Draymond did an amazing job, phenomenal job. I didn't know that he's defended AD that frequently.
Yeah, Rachel Nichols said it in her when she does like the little segues into before they when they're at the foul line. She goes, Draymond has defended Anthony Davis the most, and basically throughout their whoever's defended Anthony Davis in his career, it's been Draymond. So yeah.
Well, there you go. Fun fact. Well, Greg, I want to hear from you. What are your playoff predictions? Just give me the slate and when they're going to win. How many games?
We start in the East. I got the Nets in 3.
The disrespect. You invited me to your show just so you can bash me and disrespect my team. I understand what's going on here.
Says the guy that came in with quote unquote all the smoke.
Yeah, boy. You had it coming though. You did have it coming.
That's fine. It's cool.
That's out of pocket. I'm not gonna lie. It's out of pocket though. Nets in 3.
I got Philly in 4. I don't think the Wizards even belong in the playoffs. And I actually got the Bucks in 5. And then I'm going to take the Knicks in 6. In the Western Conference, I got the Warriors upsetting the Jazz. I got I would say in 6. And then I got the Lakers beating the Suns in 5.5, call it. Clippers, I'm sorry. Speed.
Yeah, no way that happened.
We'll see. Like I said, it's the Steph show. He can't be stopped. He can only be contained.
So you said Warriors against the Jazz, right? You got the Warriors with the upset?
Yeah, I got the Warriors with the upset. Lakers. I don't think the Lakers beating the Suns is an upset, to be honest. I think DeAndre Ayton is a solid player, but he's far too inconsistent for the Lakers bigs. And I think they're going to kill them in the paint. But the other matchup, Denver, Portland. I got Portland beating Denver in 6. If there's no Jamal Murray, I don't think Jamal Murray's healthy yet. And then I got the Mavs upsetting the Clippers in 7.
The Mavs upsetting the Clippers. Wow. Oof.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So someone in the chat told me to show my ring. Championship aspirations. This is what we go for. Championship aspirations.
It looks like a paperweight, bro.
Listen. It's a replica, and I'm going to go with the replica. Championship aspirations. So I'm going Celtics with the upset in 6. All right, Listen, I'm going down with my team, man. Listen, whatever people can call me crazy, every year I make the prediction, Celtics in 6. And Manny, I see you in the comments. Yeah, on God. Yeah, on God. Celtics in 6. You damn right. Philly versus Washington. I don't think it's a sweep because Doc Rivers is a little sus, and we've seen Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is the coach who's given up more 3-1 leads in NBA history, and I know he's a great. Yes, he won my team a championship, but I believe he's a great motivational speaker not a coach. There's a difference. So with that said, I don't know if they sweep. I think they win the series. I would say maybe a gentleman's sweep or 6. So I'm going there. If I had to, I'd say 6 games because again, Doc Rivers, Ben Simmons still can't shoot. Be very mindful of that. And I know Joel Embiid is playing great, but I'm taking Philly in 6.
Real quick, they're saying I'm wilding in the comments about the Clippers losing. The thing is, I think George Paul shows up. I don't think Paul George does.
yeah. And then as far as the Knicks versus the Hawks, I got the Knicks in 6. And then the other series is who else we got? I'm missing one.
Wizards got the Knicks. Heat's Bucks.
Heat Bucks will be that interesting series. I think that goes 7. And as much as it pains me to say it, I'm going Miami in 7. Ooh. And I think because Giannis still has to prove himself, and I don't think it's this year. So I'm going Miami in 7. I think that was Devin the back. She's a Heat fan. She probably heard what I said.
That's why I think Giannis shot. What up, Dev?
Yeah,
I think Giannis proved himself. Yeah, he can get out the first round. I don't think first round is really his issue.
He can, but the Heat maybe their kryptonite. I don't know. Last year in the second round, we didn't see that. And again, I know people are going to say, well, that was the bubble. But Miami is one of the hottest teams in the Eastern Conference going into the playoffs this year. So we have to give them their credit doing their flowers. As far as the Western Conference is concerned, clearly, Flakers, the 2-7, the Flakers and the Suns. It's unfortunate. The Suns had a great season, but the Lakers are the defending champs. So I'm going them probably in 5, gentlemen's sweep. The 1-8 matchup, I agree with Greg. Wardell, championship proven, and they've been there. Utah hasn't been there. They haven't, and I think the Warriors will upset Utah. And plus, Donovan Mitchell's coming off an injury. We don't know how well he's going to play and how he's going to. He hasn't played. When you have the 3-6 Portland, Denver, I like Portland. I think this is Terry Scott's final year to really elevate upper echelon that team. So I'm going Portland in 6. And the Clippers, Mavs, I have a little bit more respect for the Clippers. I don't think they lose in the first round. So I would say they win in 6. Clippers in 6.
I got a message for Ziggy, right? If the Clippers lose in the first round, Zig, Kawhi better get that smoke. I don't want to hear nothing else.
Listen, you know what's interesting about that? Just keep in mind, Kawhi signed a 2-year deal. And this is reasons why. I mean, this first year wasn't successful, and I'm not saying he's gonna, leave, but just keep that in mind. He signed a 2-year deal. 2-year deal for a reason. So,
matter of fact, somebody in the comments tag Ziggy at this timestamp.
Yeah. So those are my first round predictions. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, honestly, I think Carl, you and I are pretty aligned. I got the.
You got the Celtics in 6? Yeah, that's right. You said we're aligned, right?
Except for that.
You did say that, right?
Kind of aligned. I said we kind of aligned.
You did say that, though, right? You heard it, Greg. You heard it.
Did you see the excitement?
He got real excited. That is. I'm not going as far as Greg and the Celtics. I'm sorry, the Nets in 3. I got the Nets in 4. but I'm sorry, Carl. It ain't happening, boy. For all the green you wear, I don't care how many 4-leaf clovers you go and pick.
Listen, I ride with my team, son. We go to Cancun together, man. Listen, whatever it is, I'm with the ship.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. As a good fan should. You shouldn't, jump ship or decide.
Are you trying to say I'm not a good fan because I don't see
about you? Do you sound insecure? You sound insecure. Like your name.
If the shoe fits, wear it. I mean, listen, if the shoe fits, you wear it.
I feel like you was throwing subs, bro.
Nah. It wasn't a sub. Let me just go through my list real quick. All right, we're about to go to break. All right, so I got the Bucks in 7. I'm not going with the Heat. Nets in 4. I got the Knicks in 7. All right, versus the Hawks. I think that's going to be a full series. Sixers in 5 versus the Wizards. And I got Blazers. I really think that Portland fully, like, I'm seeing a healthy Portland team. I got them in 6. Lakers in 5 with the upset. I don't know if that's
not an upset anymore. I don't think it's an upset.
I mean,
by standard, it is like
on paper, it's an upset. And shouts out to Speedy. He was saying that Greg's thinking the NBA playoffs are like the NCAA tournament. A lot of upsets, but that is an upset for me. I got the Clippers. I cannot go with the Mavs. I just can't. I don't see it. I got the Clippers in 5, and then Warriors in 6. I just playoff proven. So like I said, there's some similarities, Carl, but that Celtics 6 ain't gonna happen, bro.
Listen, I'll say this before I know we're going to commercial, but again, Philly's on the clock. Milwaukee's on the clock. These are the teams that are on the clock to prove themselves. They're on the clock. And because Giannis has been in that situation, back-to-back MVPs, now they gave him players. And Mike Budenholzer has to prove himself. And
I mean, shout out to the comments, Manny and NC. They said the big difference is Drew Holiday, which I think is very important to note.
Yeah. And as far as Philly's concerned, Philly again, they have to prove themselves. I will low key root for Philly because of our guy Danny Green. I'd love to see him get his fourth one. I'd love to see him get his fourth ring. So I got to go home and St. Mary's, of course. I got to go home. That's the only reason why I'm low key rooting for Philly. Other than that, Doc Rivers is on the clock because again, we see what he did with the Clippers. Unsuccessful. He spent 7 to 8 years there. Now they bring you to Philly. You're a number one seed. Expectations are high for them.
I agree with that. And with that last note on the playoffs, let us know what y'all think. I want to see that in the comments. But we're heading to commercial break. When we come back, we're talking about the only thing that really overshadowed the play-ins, which is Kwame Brown versus the world. So stick around. This is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports Hit List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We'll be right back.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Smoke and Mirrors on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back. This is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports Hit List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside Greg Polius, and our special guest, Carl Coulage, decked out in his Celtics gear. So, before break...
Right guy with the team, baby.
Attaboy. For the break, I said we're going to talk a little bit more basketball still. And if you were in the Twitterverse or just any sports group chat, anywhere, you heard about Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown, former first overall pick in 2001. A lot of people might have not known or forgotten about him, but he came out heavy these last few days.
Oh yeah.
So sitting on a 50 cal.
This is a man that's been labeled a bust, been the butt of the jokes in NBA circles. That continued on a recent episode of All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. They brought on Gilbert Arenas, and they were talking about the Wizards. And, of course, Arenas brings up Kwame Brown. And,
it was a Genie Bus episode first, right? Because it was two different episodes.
Yeah, I think, it was a Genie Bus episode. Yeah, they did.
Yes, no, you're right. Sorry. But in that episode, you do have Gilbert Arenas, who brings up and talks about Kwame Brown, calling him a man-child and a show pony. And Barnes and Jackson going along and snickering, thinking it's funny. And then you had Kwame Brown, who was kind of fed up with it, put out a whole diss tape on YouTube, hours worth of content, just firing shots, taking no prisoners, really, calling Barnes a tragic mulatto. And then Arenas is Uncle Tom and a lousy teammate, went as far as calling Jackson a fake gangster turned fake social justice warrior. So he had smoke for a lot of people.
Becky with the good hair.
Becky with the good hair, another quote. And I will say, Steven Jackson, I mean, his was fun. His response, I think he was on IG, or maybe it was Twitter. He was like, "Your whole career was dirt. Your whole life is dirt, and it ain't my job to pour more dirt on you. Nothing but success." That man was hurt. But Kwame Brown, I mean, that didn't even stop there. I mean, Kwame Brown, the list goes on. He went after Jamel Hill. He went after Stephen A. Smith.
Charlemagne the God.
Charlemagne. I mean, the list really goes on. And I feel bad for Jamel Hill because she was just trying to be funny, and she caught smoke.
Got caught in crossfire. She
did. All she said was that Kwame Brown ended up turning on the violence button.
Nah, he chose violence. Yeah.
Yeah. But Carl, what do you think about this controversy as far as the Kwame Brown goes, being called a bust?
So this Kwame Brown situation, honestly, we covered it on Wednesday. And at first, the first original Kwame Brown rant was warranted because for years he's been butting jokes, and we all do it, even as fans. We all get in that habit. Like, again, I've evolved in when growing up, we used to watch Stephen A. Smith, and he used to, say, you never want a Kwame Brown or a Rasho Nesterovic or a Slava Medvedenko or Michael Olowokandi on your team. The players who can't play well. Yeah, all the bus. But Kwame never said anything. And now looking back at it, everyone's saying it. And again, as sports fans, we all evolve. And you're looking at it, realizing that he did play 10 years in the league. And you kind of realize, listen, if someone's going to keep poking the bear, and I said this in, you keep poking the bear, he has every right. If someone's going to come at you, even if it is his playing career, he has a right to defend himself. So I wouldn't have went the approach that he went. I mean, he didn't go about it the most professional way ever. But again, it's Kwame Brown. And with social media, you have a platform to go however you want to go about it. Where he started to lose me was when he started. Now it didn't become about basketball, and then when you start including other people like Charlamagne the God and Jamel Hill and anyone who says anything about him at all, he wants to start saying stuff about it. I think there was one more person that he basically clapped back at. I forget who it was.
LeBron. I think it was LeBron.
Yeah,
said it was fake social justice.
Something like that. Yeah, he started losing me on that front because and then I actually put this in the hit list group. Right, I said, well played by Adam Silver because clearly the play-in didn't generate enough content. We had Kwame to keep us interested until the playoffs start on Saturday. So I believe by next
conspiracy, brother.
Yeah, so I think by next week Kwame becomes old news and he goes back unless he's going to start his own podcast and he's going to rant. And they invited him on their show. So I was interested to see. I would love for him to go on and let's have the conversation. Part of the problem is, again, if two people have an issue, let's talk it out. Let's have a conversation about what we're talking about. And I'd love to see maybe he get invited to let's have him on First Take or Undisputed. Let's have that conversation. But if we're not going to do that, then I think by next week, Kwame becomes old news just like media. No one's going to be talking about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's your take on it, Steph?
Well, what I was going to say is I looked it up. It was 12 seasons in the league. 12 seasons. I think he earned about like 63 mil, 69 mil. I mean, it's entertaining to say the least. I agree with Carl that the route he went wasn't the most professional, but damn, was it entertaining.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think he cared about professionalism.
He didn't. And I think that like the grittiness of it made sense to me, especially with the timing of it. Like I think he would have went the professional route early on, right? Like if he had responded to critics when it was happening, I could see the professional route. But taking as much time off as he did to not respond to anyone and to come out now, like, I think you have to be gritty. You have to just like throw it out there. And it was a story. And he got this buzz around Kwame Brown now. And people are discussing the term bust and if we should use that.
Yeah. And I forgot to make that point that I'm sorry to interrupt, but just real quick that that term could we use another term? We had an in-depth discussion about someone who played 12 years in the league. If you make it to the league, like the percentage of you making it professional at all,
there's like 1% of athletes.
Right. So that means, and again, Coach Formack, shout out to him. He said that he's like, listen, I played overseas, and people may consider I'm not a bust. I didn't make it to the NBA, but still, I still played pro sports. That's not a bust. So if you make it at a professional level in your career, do they call you a bust because you're not the top one? You're not the top CEO or the best in your company? No. So why do we do it to NBA players? So I think there's a fair argument that is Kwame necessarily a bust? He made it to the NBA. He made it. Yeah. He got drafted. So there's definitely a fair argument here. What's so funny?
That's well.
Anthony Diaz.
He's going to throw Kwame. Yeah, he probably would. I don't know. Listen, I want the Kwame smoke because I need the clicks. Listen, go ahead, man. We'll take it. Just say the sports hit list, Kwame, and just increase our capital. We'll take it. We'll take Kwame coming at the sports hit list.
So I kind of agree with both of you in that he had every right, especially after like Matt Barnes kind of sneak dissed him, saying that in that trade there was only one player. Kwame Brown's not a real player, so he doesn't count. And I think that's what really set him off because that's when all the videos started coming out. And Carl, the only place I disagree with you is his vitriol for Charlamagne the God, because the way Charlamagne framed it, he
gave him Donkey of the Day?
No, he didn't give him Donkey of the Day.
Oh, okay.
He framed it where, like, he's like, y'all need to leave Kwame Brown alone. And they gave a family history without really knowing Kwame's family about how his father was a murderer, his brother was a murderer. But according to Kwame, he never even met his brother and his sister until later in life. So it's therefore portraying this image that he's an inherently violent person because of who. So that's the issue he took with that. So I could see why he was upset with that because you're painting him in a light that he is not trying to paint himself in.
Yeah, I didn't do much. That's my fault on that. I didn't do much research on the Charlamagne one. I mean, I saw the video. I didn't know what Charlamagne said. So if that's the case, then yeah, he absolutely has a point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think the conversation around a bust and like how we label that, again, someone that's taken 1 overall or maybe just in the first round, in the top 10, you have a certain expectation. If they don't meet that expectation, then they're a failure. Like having that discussion and redefining that is important to me.
Well, I think the deeper discussion that we also had this week is who's responsible for labeling him.
I was just going to go there.
Yeah, so I'll give you the alley in a second.
Yeah.
But again, Jordan is not the greatest GM. Look at his team. You know, Jordan, like, again, he may be the greatest player or one of the greatest players ever, but Jordan is he's just not as good of an owner as he portrays himself to be. He stopped talking to Charles Barkley because Charles was criticizing him as an owner and a GM. He's the one who put Kwame in that position. So sometimes we need to start evaluating these bad GMs, these bad coaches. And there's another thing I read that Eaton Thomas had a quote where he said, Doug Collins wasn't the greatest coach either. He was blaming everything on Kwame. He was blaming everything on Kwame, a 17-year-old, and we all know the stories of how he was treated. And then after that, he goes to play with, like he leaves Mike, he goes to play with Kobe. God rest his soul. But Kobe wasn't the easiest person to play with either. So his situations weren't as great. And yes, could he have been better? Should he have been better? Possibly, but we'll never know. But again, some people you can't coach by talking down to them. And that doesn't always work.
Yeah, everybody has to be coached differently.
Right.
And I'm going to do something that I've never done on Smoke and Mirrors. And I'm going to agree with Anthony Mullen.
Wow. Episode done. Cut the tape.
Anthony Mullen has a point when he says these teams need to be held accountable for their lack of player development.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, look at the Knicks and Frank Ntilikina. You know, top 10 pick, and he's barely a role player at this point in his career. Is that because he can't, or is that because he hasn't been developed properly?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is his first year on the tip, so could there still be a chance for his career to up? Possibly, I'm not sure. But again, yeah, it's true. I think the GMs need to be held accountable for making these picks, and I think that's another reason why the NBA kind of moved away from the high school draft picks, because they start to see a trend where you get guys who are coming straight out that weren't as successful as a KG or a Kobe.
It's mental. It's mental.
Yeah.
You know, and not every kid is created the same. You know, coming out of high school, going to college, I played with dudes that couldn't take a coach yelling at them. Like, it hurt their feelings, you know? And some dudes was like, yeah, whatever, coach. Cool, I got you.
Yeah, the players are definitely built differently, and I think that's a good part of the analysis or something to think about when it comes to, like, figuring out when you take a player that high, the mental makeup. But Greg, what do you think about what Carl said as far as this, like, going through the cycle, Kwame Brown, and the next week it's done? Do you think that this sticks around, that he stays present and kind of relevant?
I think Kwame has a bigger goal in terms of, like, his platform, and I don't think it's always going to be talking about basketball, because if you listen to an entire live stream, a lot of what he talks about is like black empowerment and lifting each other up, and I think he's going to go that route as opposed to the drama and the beef. I think he just had enough at that point and needed to speak out. But I do think he's going to fade away, because the stuff he really wants to talk about, a lot of people don't want to hear.
Well, I mean, from that regard, I hope it stays relevant that he's talking about the issues, not him just being a platform where he just rants and says things about people because they come at him. You see what I'm saying? Like, after a while, it kind of gets like, when you're creating content, all right, how many more times do we have to see him going to rant about somebody that said something to him? He's going to be like, okay, like, I'm not going to watch this anymore. But if you're sitting there discussing something that's empowering and uplifting, there's a big difference.
Especially to the community. I think that is a logical next step for him. Hopefully, if he decides to take it. I mean, he could just fade back into obscurity and just get his 5 minutes of fame and be out.
Yeah, his YouTube subs went up like 200%.
Listen, man, all we need to do is Kwame Brown. I think the funniest thing Anthony said he's they named him the play-in MVP after Kwame Brown. And then he said that they're changing the KB on the Lakers logo to Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown. That's all I got. This Kwame Brown, man. It's hilarious. It's so funny.
Definitely.
Good laugh. Good laugh for sure.
Good laugh. I mean, took you away from, talking basketball necessarily with the play-ins, but it was refreshing to me. It was though watching them videos was great, great entertainment. But I want to thank Carl for coming on.
Oh, you guys about to talk baseball? That's why you're kicking me out, right? Yeah, I
We're
figured.
giving you the boot. We're giving you the boot. All right?
I'll take it. Thank you, guys.
You don't
Appreciate you guys.
Baseball. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
You can learn something, Carl.
No, I learned enough from the 1,000 messages I get in the hit list baseball chat. I may not answer, but I read up and I see what's going on. Don't worry. I'm well enough knowledge enough. I have you guys to back me up in that, so I'm good.
Cool.
Segment. So you be prepared.
I will.
I broke up again. I like that. But with that, we'll go on a commercial. Stick around. We'll get into some baseball, talking these unwritten rules that have been plaguing the league for so long now. This is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports A-List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, and we'll be right back.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Smoke and Mirrors on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back. This is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports A-List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside Greg Polius, and our new special guest, Chuck from the Sports A-List. Chuck, how you doing, my friend?
Not too bad, my friend. Spring is finally here. It's beautiful outside. It's the best time of the year.
Yes, sir.
That's a whole fact. Spring, that's a bar.
Hey, boy, it's not an original bar, though. I can't take no credit for that. But yeah. So let's talk some baseball. Whenever you see Chuck, you know we're talking baseball. For real. All right? And with that, talk about these unwritten rules. You know, and if you don't know what the unwritten rule is, baseball is known for it. It is plagued the league for a long time. You know, to the effect of if you hit a home run, you can't celebrate too much, or else you get thrown at. If you're up big, you don't steal bases because you know you have it in the bag. And if it's a 3-0 count, you don't swing. You know, because if you're up big, a 3-0 count, you don't swing because it's bad for the game. It's not respecting the game. And we have out in Chicago, Tony La Russa, the 76-year-old relic of the past, who's the manager out there, had an issue with the home run heard around the league on Monday. So in a 15-4 game, the White Sox were up against the Twins. The Twins decided to bring in a position player to pitch, throwing about 45 miles an hour, which sometimes doesn't even register on the gun. That's how slow it is. On a 3-0 count, Yerman Mercedes, I should say, decided to swing, even though he got the take sign, and hit a 400-plus foot bomb, which Tony La Russa didn't like, and made it known after the game, and said that there would be consequences for his actions. His teammates disagreed because you have Tim Anderson and Lance Lynn, who did come to the defense of Yerman Mercedes on social media. But the next game, you have Tyler Duffy, who threw behind Yerman Mercedes when he came in, and he was ejected. But Tony La Russa did not stand up for his player. Now, Chuck, I'll throw it to you. What do you think about this situation as far as how La Russa handled it? And do you agree with, you know, this unwritten rule, this particular unwritten rule, if it's something that should stick around?
You know, this is something I've been fighting with myself over the past couple of days. I mean, I can see where both sides are coming from. I understand, you know, you're up big, you don't swing 3-0, and I think that's why this is even a discussion, is because he swung 3-0. If it was a 2-0 count, a 1-2 count, you're right. We're not doing this. Plus, he had a take sign, which he clearly ignored and went yah. So I see that. But Tony La Russa, you got to defend your guy. I don't care what the guy does on the field. That's your team. That's your player. You don't go against your guy and insult him publicly. Like, you don't do that. So I understand he went, he swung, he hit a home run. But if you're going to ignore the sign, like Greg said in the chat with us, you got to go. You know, you have to hit a home run, and that's what he did. Yeah. So that kind of goes out the window. And there was a position player pitching. We can sit here and talk about how no-hitters are so frequent in baseball now. How about position players pitching? That happens like every other week. When I was younger, like that maybe happened like once a year, and it was like, holy moly, like a position player pitching. Like, that's crazy.
That's because of the new rule they put in.
Right, but it's just like this happens all the time. And I will be honest though, when I'm umpiring games and it's like a blowout, I had like a 17-5 game the other day. You want the guys to swing because it's so boring when it's just pitch after pitch. Guys just they pull out the kid who's usually in like right field and they bring him in and he can't hit the plate and it's just like, guys, please swing. Let's get out of here. Like I'm trying to go eat dinner and you're
Chuck's strike zone goes from the righty's batter's box to the lefty's batter's box, pretty much.
Yeah, like I have to sometimes. I have to because it's like, guys, just swing the freaking bat. Why are you trying to draw walks? Just go and swing the bat, right? And then I guess you could also make the other argument that no game is over until you record the final 3 outs because baseball is not timed. So who knows if the Twins would have came up, and put together a 12, 13 run inning and then came back and won the game. So you can make the case for both sides, but I do think Tony La Russa is definitely wrong. He even admitted that, he's an old school kind of guy, like growing up and, being the manager. This isn't what they did. So that's his mentality, and I can't really fault him for that because that's just the way he thinks. But definitely wrong in not defending his guy. Defending your guy is an old school way of thinking. You go to war with your brothers. You defend them at every chance. So how do you say that swinging 3-0 is not swinging 3-0 is old school, but then you don't back your guys? Like it's too much hypocrisy on both ends.
Greg, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I mean, let's just cut it down to what's the real issue here. A guy hit a ball. Like, that's what we're really arguing about.
Very far. It's like 128 feet.
Like, that's what we're really arguing about here. And
on 45 miles an hour, by the way, which is still it's an impressive feat that he hit it so far without really getting the aid of like an 80, 90 mile per hour fastball. What up, KJ?
He can't hear you. They both just ambushed me.
Two special guests on top of Chuck. This is great.
Yeah. Come out the camera, man. I'm live. Get out the camera.
I can hear you talking through this.
All right.
I can hear them talking.
Go, leave. Bye.
They came up for the baseball segment. They were excited to talk about Tony La Russa too.
Yeah. So back to what I was saying. Yeah, he is actually Tony La Russa being upset about the 3-0 count to me is laughable. Because, like I said in the chat, he went yard. Why you scored another run? What are we really complaining? How is that disrespectful to score another run? Because, like Chuck mentioned, if the Twins go out there and score 6-7 runs, now we have a ball game. Okay.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, that's an important point because the whole idea when you're growing up and you're learning how to play the game, you never take your foot off the neck of the opponent, right? Like, you're supposed to keep on pounding away and get the runs you need or keep scoring. So when this happened, to have Tony La Russa say what he said and then also make it seem as if the locker room would agree with him when you have, Tim Anderson on Twitter talking about don't see and don't hear, keep pushing 100. Protecting and sticking up for his guy. Lance Lynn saying there are no rules when a position player is pitching. And the more I play this game, the more those unwritten rules have gone away. So you have two prominent players who are coming out and speaking out against the coach, your manager. To me, that's like you're looking at division, potentially in a locker room with a team that is, tops in the league with the number of wins they have. They have an amazing record. They already have an amazing team, even though you have some injuries. To me, La Russa's managing style could be detrimental in a long term, for a team like this when you talk about galvanizing guys, because we've seen it time and time again. If you don't gel in the locker room, that ends up playing out on the field. So I do think it has a big impact.
I also want to touch on Tyler Duffy and Rocco Baldelli. Yeah. CC said it best. If Major League Baseball gets upset at this, have a mercy rule. Because Tyler Duffy has no business throwing at him. Because again, like we mentioned, it is a position player on the mound. So clearly, you guys conceded. That doesn't mean the opposition has to concede.
Yeah.
And if Astudillo is out there throwing 47-mile-an-hour pitches, he's not taking it seriously. He's just trying to get it over to get the game over with. And you can't be mad at the opposition to want to keep playing. That's what it sounds
These
like.
guys get paid for the stats. I mean, the number of home runs that Mercedes has is going to define how much money he's going to make on the market. So why would he not take an opportunity to pad his stats? But with that, Chuck, you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to touch on another unwritten rule. Major League Baseball has been policing its own game for decades now, and I know Tyler Duffy was wrong for throwing at Mercedes, but I'm glad he didn't headhunt. Like, how many times we see teams try to retaliate and throw at the guy's head? I think he did the correct way. If you're going to throw at somebody because you don't like what they did, you do that. You throw behind them, you don't hit them, and you throw low behind them. So I'm just glad he didn't go up there throwing at his, upper shoulders, head area, because then that's when games get, really serious and you take players' health into accountability. So I'm just glad that he did it the correct way, which is crazy to say because you're throwing at somebody on purpose. But I'm just glad that he didn't go up there and, try to beam one at his head and, give the guy a concussion or a Kevin Pillar type of situation.
Ugly.
Even that situation, like that, that wasn't on purpose.
No, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say the silver lining in that is that he actually, the way he threw it, I agree with that, Chuck. If you have to look at one thing at all. But one thing you did bring up earlier, which would have been a great segue for us, I'm still going to try and segue it, is the no-nos in this league. The number of no-nos, no-hitters that have happened in the MLB is noteworthy. There have been 6 no-hitters so far in this early season in the major leagues. And the record for number of no-hitters in a season is 7, which happened 4 times, 1990, 1991, 2012, and 2015. So they're on pace to destroy that. And, you have pitchers like Carlos Rodon, John Means, Wade Millie, Spencer Turnbull, Corey Kluber, and I think the other one's Joe Musgrove. These are guys that, they're good pitchers, but you don't necessarily expect the no-hitters to come for them. And I think about 4 of them, they were one batter away from having a perfect game. So this is domination by pitchers on hitters. And in, I think, a few of those cases, you have the Rangers, the Mariners, and Cleveland, who've all been no-hit twice, which is pretty drastic. Chuck, what do you think about these no-hitters and the reason for the spike? Because this is something we haven't really seen before.
I think baseball is so dependent on analytics and launch angles and whatnot that everybody's trying to hit homers. Like, I think you said it, Steph. Mercedes went up and he hit a home run because he's going to get paid for the amount of home runs that he hit. So everybody's like, wow, home runs equates to bigger salary, so why not get mine? So I think everybody's trying to raise their launch angle to try to get the ball over the wall, and people are swinging out of their shoes on like pitches that are like in the dirt. And if you look at the guys who threw the no-hitter before Kluber, and not even counting the Madison Bumgarner one, these are guys that aren't household names and don't really throw, heat. Like Major League players could hit 102, which is crazy. Like, it's easy to, stay in the box and hit that, but it's off-speed pitches that I think players are struggling with. And I think we're going to need an adjustment period of players trying to learn how to throw, curveballs. I mean, trying to hit curveballs and whatnot. I follow, I think this Pitchers Nation on Instagram. I check that every time because some of these, like, Frisbee-type pitches that these pitchers are throwing nowadays are just wild. It's just like, how are the batters supposed to hit that? So I think the reason no hitters is because players are trying to get the ball in the air as much as possible instead of, aiming for, from foul pole to foul pole into the gap, singles, doubles, triples, bunting, stealing. I think it's no more small ball and everybody's just trying to hit homers. I think it's becoming a 3 true outcome game where it's just walks, strikeouts, and home runs.
What about you? What do you think?
I think the pitchers are, like Chuck mentioned, they're off speed stuff. They're more polished, like the young pitchers coming up usually have, especially starters, usually have 3 good secondary pitches. I mean, look at Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker coming out of Vandy. Like, these dudes already in college have 3+ pitches as their secondary stuff. So you're getting the guys that may not be household names because the Major League Draft is not big in terms of being televised. But as they're coming through the farm system, they're developing to the point where they already have the 95 plus fastball. So that doesn't need to be developed. So they develop their secondary stuff. And to Chuck's point about hitters and their all or nothing approach, because that's what gets them paid. It's not as if they can't do the contact thing, because you don't get to that level if you can't be a contact hitter, right? But they know what's going to fill their pockets. And the example I gave, you guys in the chat is Jeff McNeil versus Pete Alonso. When they're both free agents, who's going to get paid more? Even though Pete Alonso's never hit over 300 in his life, he's going to command a bigger salary than a guy who, like Jeff McNeil, who's going to hit the ball the other way. He's going to hit you a bunch of doubles. He's going to compete for batting titles, and he's going to have a high OBP. But he's not valued the way a Pete Alonso is valued. Doesn't mean he's not valuable to a team. And that to me is on the organizations, not necessarily on the hitters.
Yes, I mean the organization, the league, and how it's trending. I think one other thing that I think is worth noting is the changes to the baseball as well. The raised seams, like that's something that drastically affects breaking pitches and movement. So you give pitchers now who already were nasty added benefit of having the raised seams, and you're talking about the frisbee slider. The devastating curveballs. I mean, the slider's been a very effective pitch for a lot of major league pitchers, but that advantage to me is something that wasn't necessary because we already had pitchers that were dominating. So to give them another edge, this is how it's playing out. Seeing these no hitters, potentially even perfect games, the number of them that have happened. I know for the casual fan, that's not exciting. I think for all of the diehard fans, we love seeing this stuff. This stuff is great to watch, inning to inning. However, you want baseball to grow. You want to see the casual fan that's excited for this, and the pitching duels just aren't it. That's not going to be what gets fans in the seats or have them looking at games. And so if you understand that, giving these advantages to pitchers just seems like ill-advised. I'm
going to end on this. Baseball fans are very fickle, especially the casual fans, because they loved the home run chase in '98 with Sosa, McGuire. They loved it, right? Home runs, brought baseball back after the strike. And then a few years ago, all of a sudden, there's too many home runs hit, and now we get a bunch of no-nos, and now it's these hitters aren't putting the ball in play. Nothing makes the casual baseball fan happy.
I think another thing, real quick, I'm sorry. I think the ball's not being juiced anymore could have an impact because there have been some at-bats that I've watched over the past couple of weeks, and it's just been like a casual fly ball to center field, and I was like, last year, that's a home run without a doubt. So I think the ball's being deadened in a way is just not having these players get their typical home runs that we saw in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the last thing I'll say is even if the casual fan doesn't know what they want, I still think that home runs sell. That's just people love that. Those highlight reels are always big, and that's what's going to bring people to the stadiums and have people looking at baseball. So that's something to consider. But I want to say thank you to Chuck. Chuck, you always come through, drop the knowledge on us. Always blessed in the baseball segment. Appreciate you for that. But yeah, that's going to do it for us for this episode of Smoke and Mirrors. Hope you enjoyed. We're going to be back again on Monday between 1 and 2. You guys know what time it is. You know when we're on. You love us, so you're going to be here. We expect you to be here. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Hope you have a great weekend. This is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports Hit List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside Greg Polius and Chuck, our special guest. We'll take care. We'll see you on Monday.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.